So the U.S. men's national team had a really shaky window this window where they played Belgium and Portugal, with the first game being against Belgium. We're going to go break down each game and then give away some takeaways that we come out of this March window as we lead into the World Cup. Because outside of this, there's just one more friendly in early June, and then it's the World Cup. So we're going to dive into each one of these with the first one being Belgium. So in this game was kind of one where you didn't feel so great coming out of it. So they had a really good first half, quite honestly. I thought the first half they were able to compete well. They looked good. It was kind of a nice back and forth 50-50 battle what they had with Belgium. But then the second half, they completely fell apart. They were getting killed in transition. They would pretty much hold possession the whole game. Like it felt like they wanted to dictate the tempo, but the moment that they lost the ball, the defenders just couldn't keep up. Like they were struggling. They were just on their back foot. And then, as you saw, like Lukaku and then Doku and everybody else was just basically just killing them on the transition. And it got to the point where Belgium was like, okay, you know what? We'll let you have the ball because right now they weren't able to create any chances. And that was one thing that I saw in this Belgium game where there wasn't any clear cut chances they were able to give to those guys up top. Their best chances kind of came from certain guys making specific runs or maybe a cross in, but then some of those crosses in just they weren't connecting. There was one specifically, I believe, with Tim Weah where he kicked it in and then it just kind of it just whiffed by Pulisic, and then other than that, there wasn't really too much. I mean, Pulisic had a couple runs on the left side, but we didn't really see too much. Like I said, they really struggled to create chances. It felt just kind of like a dead game, and then every time Belgium scored, I mean, that team just slowly started looking more and more defeated. And quite honestly, I thought Belgium looked pretty damn good. I felt like they adjusted to the game really well, and it felt like Poch just tried to like keep on pushing and pushing against Belgium, and then Belgium just kept on attacking him. And I would have liked to see some more defensive changes but it looked like about the 60th minute, he kind of just subbed out some of your best attacking players, which maybe you just see the writings on the wall. You're down, I think 4-2 or 4-1 at the time. It was definitely 4-1, and it was just the game was clearly lost at that point, and maybe you wanna save your guys for the Portugal game. Speaking of the Portugal game, this game I thought was obviously a little bit better. I mean, they lost down 2-0 in this game. The first half was solid, but they couldn't put their chances away when they had them. The defense, once again, was getting killed in transition, not really knowing how to act. Matt Freese made some pretty big stops, quite honestly. He had some really, really World Cup level blocks that honestly I don't think a Matt Turner would have been able to make. And to me, in this game, he pretty much solidified himself as like the guy going forward. I think he's going to be the starter in the World Cup. But it's another story. Granted, they swap it out. You put in an Austin Trusty, you take out Tim Ream, but it just felt like the defense just couldn't handle the transition well. And obviously, this is a window in a specific area where you kind of wish you had Tyler Adams there. He would have made a big difference in being able to clean up and break up some of the transitions and the chance creations that they had against Portugal, or that Portugal had against them. Then we get into the second half, and basically they left Joao Felix wide open. You cannot leave a guy of his quality. Granted, yes, at the highest level, he's been up and down. He's been kind of bouncing around from league to team to team to team. But at the end of the day, he is one of those players that Portugal relies on. He's a player of immense talent. You cannot let him sit there and take that shot. I mean, he was wide open at the top of the box. He had time to take a touch and then just blast it in. And it's like that was just to me completely unacceptable, just leaving him completely unmarked and just got killed in that centerpiece, that set piece. Another thing I noticed, and I think this kind of pertains back to the Belgium game, is that the CBs just keep on getting like the split. Like basically, they're just too far apart. It almost feels like, and then at times they're like leaving men on mark or leaving guys, and it feels like that just positionally they're just not very aware of where they're supposed to be. Whether that was Austin Trusty, whether that was Chris Richards, it just felt like a lot of these guys were they felt like they didn't know how to position themselves correctly. And there was a little bit more reliance on obviously having a guy like Tyler Adams there who can help kind of break up and sit back with them and almost kind of be like that first line of defense, no pun intended. And it goes back to like midfielders not really taking possession or shutting things down. And to me, I felt like if you look at a lot of people are going to point to the center backs and all this stuff. And granted, yes, I do think the center backs had a lot of issues, but not that midfield. I felt like they were too focused on trying to attack. Like, there was nobody there that was able to, like, really kind of control the tempo and then also kind of create chances. It felt like this team just doesn't mesh well, and it feels like they were missing that person who can help kind of open up the field a little bit more, as well as, like, being able to just stop plays in their momentum and stop Portugal from doing what they wanna do with it, because it felt like the moment that Portugal got the ball, they did what they wanted to. Now I'm going to go into some of my takeaways for this game. Quite honestly, this team just isn't good enough defensively to go, like, band for band with a good team. Like, they just don't have what it takes, they don't have the talent. I think offensively, sure, they can, but they just don't have those pieces in the back that can really solidify them as a force to be reckoned with. And I've said it and I've said it before, and I've been saying it for like pretty much the past year. This team is not built to go 50% possession against a World Cup contender level team. This is a team that has to sit back and obtain pressure and catch them. This team is immensely talented on the attack. They're very athletic. They're fast with you, and then you have the wings with Anthony Robinson, Serginho Dest, or if you want to put in Anthony Weah, if you want Timothy Weah, my bad. If you want to go into that wing back route, and then obviously Balogun can run with the best of them. This team is just built so well for that. Why are they not doing that? Because quite honestly, that line, that defensive line is just not good enough. And especially with the way that the right and left back want to play and they want to be up into the attack and play up in the option, you're just leaving. It feels like when the other team gets the ball, you're just a man down defensively. And then on top of that, your defenders just aren't good enough positionally to be able to shut that stuff down. And also in the midfield, too, that feels like the midfield gets caught too far up. This team, to me, just and it doesn't look like it's going to change, but I would have been really, really interested to see what this team looks like if they just learn to absorb pressure instead of trying to be the enforcer. It's like they're trying to be something that they're not. And quite honestly, I just don't think they're good enough yet to be able to do that. Maybe in the future when they're able to, some of these guys are able to develop into something a little bit better. But I think this current group of guys just they can't do that. And I think there needs to be a readjustment into the way Putch attacks these game plans and to be a little bit more defensively solid. So we'll see coming into this June window, because really that's going to be your last chance, and then you're going to be kind of like experimenting right before the World Cup. That's something that you really don't want to do and be caught up in. Another key takeaway was kind of like what I mentioned earlier, is that Tyler Adams was deeply, deeply missed. And quite honestly, there's no real replacement for him. You would have hoped to see a Johnny Cardoso be that guy and kind of like help kind of be that 1-2 punch with him, especially. I mean, this is a guy who plays for Atletico Madrid. This is a guy who is really talented at the club level, but for whatever reason, he cannot put it together at the international stage. And especially if you don't have a Tyler Adams there to kind of like carry the load and kind of just be that guy, it leaves that position wide open that no one's able to really take it, because obviously Yunus Musa is not going to be there. I mean, you could try with an experiment with a Tanner Tessman, but there's no real replacement for him. And clearly, like, we saw that in the defense, the center backs definitely need help there, because nobody on the center back position outside of maybe a Chris Richards, but even then, like, I think he's a player that would be really good if he's next to somebody else who's also really good. I don't know if he's a guy who's a complete game wrecker who can just completely shut it down. Maybe we'll see. I mean, maybe he'll turn around, but I don't know. I like him, but I just don't think he's there yet. To me, it's really shown the importance of somebody like a Tyler Adams to be on this team. My third takeaway, Matt Freese, like I said, he is your guy. He just seems to be the better shot stopper, and that's what you're going to need in this World Cup, because quite honestly, like, if this March window is any precursor to what we might see in the World Cup, you need somebody who just has that athleticism to just stop shots anywhere that gets near him. Because Matt Turner, while I don't think he's necessarily like drastically worse than Matt Freese, I think Matt Freese has then proved himself to be a little bit of a better shot stopper. And quite honestly, even if we go back to the previous World Cup, I think leading into this one, Matt Freese just seems to be like on a better trajectory. He seems to be playing a little bit better than even what we saw from Matt Turner at his best. And then my final takeaway is that the tech just needs to be better in the box. You would expect to see somebody like a Malik Tillman or maybe even a Gio Reyna be able to kind of unlock and open up those spaces for some of these players, but they may have moments of that, but they can't consistently do it. And I have a lot of concerns in terms of that. It seems like the best way this team has going forward is just being able for certain players like a Pulisic, like a Balogun, like a Way to be able to make those runs, and then if you can catch an opening and take a shot, then you take the shot. But it doesn't seem like they necessarily have a ton of creativity that you would like to see from some of these guys. So it's being able to kind of improve in that specific element of the game. Overall, those are my thoughts of the March window for the U.S. men's national team. It was a pretty disappointing one, quite honestly. You saw a little bit of improvement from game one to game two, but it was kind of more of the same. And I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered leading into this June window. And quite honestly, if they can't keep on playing the way that they're playing leading into this World Cup, because they're just going to get murdered. And there's a good chance where maybe with now Turkey entering the group, they may not even win the group, and who knows? There's a strong possibility they may not make it out, because in a competitive group like that, there's not going to be a lot of points to be handing out to people, and not every third place team is going to make it. So while I still have the United States getting out and getting out of the group stage and getting to knockout rounds, which there's a pretty good chance of it, if they want any shot of actually being able to make a run, they have to be more defensively solid and really start experimenting with a more defensive shape. I think being in CONCACAF has really diluted their how good they really are, and not being tested by other teams hasn't really been good for them. And I think this March window, maybe a little too late, is kind of an eye opener. For so long, they've just been playing either teams worse or at their level. And this is the first time they're actually playing a team that is at or above their level. And it seems like they thought too highly of themselves, and now they're going to have to scale it back. But anyways, what do you think of this March window? What do you want to see the U.S. men's national team, or any things that Pochettino you want him to make changes on? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.